Today, I'm going to rank every Red Dead Redemption 1 town in a tier list, starting from the worst towns going all the way up to the best towns. 99% of my viewers are unsubscribed, so if you'd like to see more content like this, subscribe as we'll be posting tier lists every single day. In last place, I have to put Armadillo. Armadillo is kind of cool in this game. It's just a really super western town, but I feel like there's really not that much to do in Armadillo, especially when you compare it to other towns. There's not really any cool like Thieves Dice thing. And while it's pretty similar to a lot of the other towns where it's like you can do bounties, you can do all this, and there's like saloon, and it's just a pretty generic western town, I think this is like the most generic, just like, oh, taking it based off of a western. It's like Fistful of Dollars trilogy. That's exactly what Armadillo is in this game. And while I think it's a big step up from Red Dead Redemption 2, where there's just nothing going on in Armadillo, I still feel like Armadillo is a pretty disappointing town to me, at least. Like there's not that much to do, and I just don't think New Austin in general, at least with Armadillo as the main town, is that interesting. I think New Austin itself, there's a lot of different things to do in New Austin in Red Dead Redemption 1, but I think Armadillo is one of the places I spent the least time in New Austin in Red Dead Redemption 1. So I think it's probably one of the worst towns in the game, and I think it has to be the worst like big town in the game. So Armadillo is going to have to go into C tier. In fifth place, I've got Escalera. I actually really like Escalera, but I think the geography of Escalera really kind of hurts it. It's on the west side of Mexico itself, and just the fact that it's pretty far away from any bridge to go back into New Austin, and there's not really anything like cool. Like Chuparosa is right by the bridge to go back into New Austin, and Escalera is way on the west side. There's not really much to do with it. And I think the geography of Escalera itself, where it's like set on these steps, which I know Escalera is supposed to be like steps in Spanish or stairs. And I mean, that's cool, but I don't really like the steps itself. And it's like super weird to get up to De Santa and Allende's like palace. So I'm not a big fan of that itself, but I think Escalera is a pretty cool town. There is like Liar's Dice. There's a pretty cool safe house that you can buy. I just think in general, Escalera is better than something like Armadillo, where there's like at least a little bit more to do. But I don't really think Escalera has anything that pushes it above any of these other cities. And while Mexico, in my opinion, is really, really cool, and Escalera does have there's a lot going on there, I don't think there's anything that special or that interesting in Escalera where I just think it needs to go any higher than C tier. While it is a pretty solid city, I just think all the steps to me actually really pisses me off, and I just hate going up all these steps. And while you do have, a couple redeemable things like Liar's Dice, the Liar's Dice is out in the open air, and I can't be playing Liar's Dice or poker in the open air. Sometimes it's raining, and you'll be playing poker in the open air. It's like, bro, that does not make sense at all, and I feel like that also takes it down a little bit. So this one's also going to have to go into C tier, but it's definitely above Armadillo. In fourth place, I got Thieves Landing. I think Thieves Landing is pretty cool in Red Dead Redemption 1. Big step up from Red Dead Redemption 2. There is like Liar's Dice, poker, blackjack, all in one room, which I think is really cool because you can go from one gambling game to the next. But I think the Van Horn kind of vibe that it has in Red Dead Redemption 1 versus Red Dead Redemption 2, I think that kind of takes away from it a little bit, because like whenever I pull out a gun, everyone's pulling out guns on me. And, I kind of want to step up my bounty a little bit when I kill someone. So I don't know. It's a little bit of a weird step in that direction, but I think in general Thieves Landing is really cool. There's a lot going on. It has a pretty cool safe house that's right by the gambling things, and it's like when I go back to these towns, I always just need to gamble, and I think the fact that it has Liar's Dice, which is my favorite gambling game in Red Dead Redemption 1, really just puts it a step up. So I think it's a really solid town, but I don't think it has enough of a vibe of an actual town. Like at least with something like Macfarlane's Ranch, there actually is a vibe of a town. While there is like a general store and a gunsmith and all that in Thieves Landing, it doesn't have that towny feel, because it seems like everyone kind of hates each other here. And like the same thing with Van Horn, everyone's going to protect each other, but they're all kind of on their own dice, and if something bad happens, they don't really care that much about it. For those reasons, I'm going to have to put it in B tier. In third place, I've got Macfarlane's Ranch. I think Macfarlane's Ranch has to be above some of these other cities just because of how good of the vibes are as a kind of city or town, whatever you want to call it. Because with Bonnie and I don't know what her dad's name is, but I love the vibes of the town. I feel like everyone is working together for something. You can do night watch jobs, and I mean, there are some fights and whatever or whatnot, but I think as a town, it really works together because everyone is on the Macfarlane Ranch, and they're all helping to work the Macfarlanes for everyone to do better. And there are some nice things. You have everything that every other town has. And while you're there, I mean, you don't really have a cool place to actually live, but I think just the fact that it's run by Bonnie, who's low-key a baddie, and just overall, it's a pretty fun place and a pretty fun place to stay at. And just the fact that it's also in a really good spot of the map, I think it has to be up here because it's probably in the best spot of the map, in my opinion, in New Austin. Henniganstead is my favorite part of New Austin. It's right in between there and like the Great Plains and Blackwater, which definitely is the best city, but it's just in a good location between like Thieves Landing, Blackwater, and being close enough to Mexico where you can stay there and you can go back there. And I still feel like it's a pretty fun place. While the missions here are just kind of boring because they just kind of get you into the whole run of the game, I feel like it is still a pretty cool place, and the fact that a lot of the story takes place here, it really works well to make it an even better city. So I think this one is also going to have to go in B tier. In second place, I've got Chuparosa. I think Chuparosa is probably the best looking city out of any of them. I just love the wall surrounding the city. I think that's probably the coolest thing in any city in all of Red Dead Redemption, just because there's no other cities that have these walls. And I think these walls kind of give it this nice, I don't know, walled garden vibe. And it really gives it that Western vibe from like, yeah, Fistful of Dollars trilogy, where it's just everything's walled in. You come in, you're a newcomer to the town. And I think that when you actually get introduced to the town, you walk in and you start a fight with some guy. And I think that's just kind of the fun of this whole city. I think Chuparosa is just, yeah, one of the most beautiful cities. It really looks cool, especially in Mexico. It's the first one you're introduced to in Mexico, at least. I mean, I think most people went to Chuparosa first. And I just think it really has that Nuevo Paraíso vibe. And I just love the Mexican vibes here. I think it's a pretty cool town. The only thing I wish this place had was just a little bit of Liar's Dice, because I really like the vibe of where the blackjack and poker tables are, but if they just had Liar's Dice there, I think it could be even better. And I don't know, I think Chuparosa is definitely one of the better towns, if not the best. I mean, it's definitely not the best because we have one more, but I think it's one of the best towns in all of Red Dead Redemption 2 and Red Dead Redemption 1. And I just think if it had been ported to Red Dead Redemption 2, would have been one of my favorites. It's just a really chill place to hang out at and to be, and I think it's one of the best ones, so it's going to have to go into A tier. In first place, I got Blackwater. I just think this is the perfect town, and it really fits Red Dead Redemption 1. It's like the Red Dead Redemption 1 Western version of Saint Denis. You still have these not paved roads or anything, but you do have the cars, you have the nice ferries, and I feel like just everything is a step up from Red Dead Redemption 2 in terms of like all of Blackwater. There's a lot more going on, and I don't know, I just love it. I also love the missions that all take place here, and I think especially when Agent Ross pulls out that vehicle, it's so funny to see, because it's just like Blackwater really is in the 20th century at this point. And I don't know, it's so cool to see like how the city develops, and I think also just because of how cool it is in Red Dead Redemption 2, like it actually being in Red Dead Redemption 1 and like taking a step further here makes it even better. I don't know, I love Blackwater as a city. Also, my favorite thing to do here is play these high stakes poker games. That's probably one of the things that Red Dead Redemption 2 misses the most, but it's the only place where you can do the high stakes poker game, and I think that also has to add to it. I don't know, I feel like it's just the most complete city. A lot in the story goes down here. I mean, the whole like third chapter takes place here. And I just think it's the overall most complete city. There's a lot going on. You have everything a city needs, and it also has a little bit of vibes from Red Dead Redemption 2, even though it's like the first game and Red Dead Redemption 2 is the second game. It really has those same vibes, and I just love the everything that went down here and just kind of how they mix the two of them together. So I think Blackwater has to be the only S tier town in Red Dead Redemption 1, and it could be one of the best towns in both games, but I don't know, I just love Blackwater so much, so it definitely has to be in S tier. So that's going to wrap up my Red Dead Redemption 1 towns tier list. If you guys would change anything, put it in the comments. And if you guys do want to suggest any Red Dead Redemption 1 tier list that you want me to make, put it in the comments as well. And if you do want to see more tier lists like this, like and subscribe, because I'll be posting these tier lists every single day.